Hello and welcome to my channel. My name is David and today we're going to be working on HTML part 2. Now I've already started a series of HTML part 1 in previous videos. Just go down to my channel and you're going to see the the video I have for HTML, how to build a website with HTML part 1. Now this is the part 2 of that particular video. Now I'm gonna be having different other HTML series that I didn't conclude in that particular video, so we're gonna conclude it in this video. Just sit tight and follow my lead on every turn. Alright, without wasting much of our time, today we're going to start with the HTML5 icon. Alright, now if you look down different websites, Facebook, Twitter and all the rest, at the very top of the page title they have their icon, their little icon on that particular page. Alright, so if you look down, for example, let's go down to our page here. Okay, now this is our page. All right, now if you look right at the top of this page title, so we have my first website as a page title here, but if you look here, we have something here that looks like a circular stuff right here, but normally what's supposed to be here is either an icon or an image, all right, of maybe the particular website or the brand. Now this is what I'm going to be showing you how to actually achieve this with HTML. Now let's go back to our code editor. Now the 5e icon is a small image displayed next to the page title in the browser tab. Okay, that's just the definition of that. All right, without wasting much of our time, I'm going to show you how to actually put this on our browser. All right, so let's go down to the add element. Okay, and before we move on, make sure you have an image that we're going to be using. Okay, I have my folder right here and I'm going to be using this particular image right here. Okay, so we have code with Dayvid. I'm going to put that image right at that particular point. Now let's move on. Okay, so let me close that up and wrap up my screen. All right, we're going to have here a link. Okay, so just put down a link here. Okay, so that's the first thing we ought to do. Now we're going to take off this style sheet here. Okay, so we need an attribute for web. All right, and what's going to go in here is icon. All right, so icon is going to go in here, and we're going to need another attribute for type. Okay, so the type is image slash x hyphen icon. All right, so that's the type that we're going to be having there. And now the href is going to have the images. Okay, the image, I mean, so you're going to have the image or you're going to have the 5 icon. Now if you want to actually get this, if you want to use the 5 icon, you can go to 5 icon. Okay, let's just go there, 5 icon.cc. all right, so you want to actually create your own 5 icon. All right, so you can just go to this site and actually do that. All right, okay, now let's go back to our code editor. Okay, now I'm going to use an image, so I have images right here. Okay, so I'm going to use this image. All right, so that's all we need to do for that. Now let's go back to our browser and check what that gives us. Now we will load. Okay, let's go back. Maybe we encountered an error, so let's go check that again. So we have the image slash, we have the image, then we have X icon right here. All right, this is supposed to actually work. Okay, all right, Now this is actually working right now. Okay, so we have the icon right here standing at the top left corner of the tab. All right, so we have the title here, okay, and we have the icon right here. Okay, so that's just what we need to do to actually achieve that. All right, so very easy, and I'm sure you have a very good understanding of how this works. Now let's go back to our browser, and let's move on to the next thing that we have to do. Now the next thing I'm going to do here is that we're going to work on how to actually play an audio and a video on our browser, how to use the audio element and the video element to actually play an audio and a video on our browser. Okay, so let's go down. Now let's go down here. Okay, so I'm just gonna have this audio comment here. Now we're going to make use of an audio element. All right, so make sure you have your audio already right here on this folder. So just go pick an audio on your PC and take it right here on this folder. So that's all you need to do. So let's minimize that. So I will just come down here and we have images, which is the folder. Oh, sorry, not images, just image, which is the folder. And then I have audio 1.mp3. So the format is very important. So we have .mp3, which is the format that it's for the audio. Okay, so it's very important that you have that right there. Then the next thing we're going to have here is the attribute for controls. Now this attribute for controls is going to help in bringing having that play button, the pause, the volume increment and decrement and all those stuff. The controls is responsible for that. Now let's go back to our browser and check out this. All right, so we have our audio right here, so we can play. Okay, so you see that it's actually playing, then we can pause. All right, so you see the volume stuff here. We can click it, we can reduce the volume, and we can increase the volume right here. So that's all we need to do for that. Okay, so I'm just going to build a break line tag here, so we can actually doesn't just be so choked up on each other. Now let's move on to, that's all about audio. Okay, very easy. All right, now let's move on to the video aspect of this. Okay, so we just do the same for video. I'm just going to comment on that. So video. All right, now let's move on that. So I have video, we have a video element. Okay, so the same way we're going to actually do that. So we're going to have a video in an MP4 format. Okay, so also we're going to have controls right there. Okay, so that's all we need to do for that particular video also. So we just reload here, and we see the video right here. So it's looking so
Life
big.
is hard.
All right, so I'm
See,
going
for
to
every time you
resize
have
this. Okay, so let's go back to our browser, our code editor, and let's look for how we can resize. So we're going to use an attribute called width. So I'm going to give it a dimension of 500, and I'm going to give the attribute of height and give it the dimension of 400. So that's all we need to do. So I'm just going to take this break line tag and place it here. All right, so just do that, and that's all. So we'll go back there and let's go check it. So you see that is resized now. So we have this much better size that than what it was before. It was so big and taking the entire page. So now it's resized now, so we can play the video. and we see
Life
that
is
it's
hard.
actually
See, for every
playing.
time you have a plan,
cool to
a dream,
do this. So you
an
can play a
aspiration,
movie,
or a
you
goal,
can have
do you know what happens every time you have one of those?
music
This
video
thing comes
and all
along.
those stuff. You can actually play there. So it's very easy to actually do that. Okay, so that's all about the video aspect of that. So, okay, so we're gonna move on to the next thing that we're gonna do here. So the next thing we're gonna do here, I'm gonna work on what we call the block element and the inline element. All right, very easy. So we're just gonna do that, block element and the inline element. So now I'm going to define what the block element is. Now, what really is this block element? Now, the block element always starts on a new line, and the browser automatically adds some space before and after the element. Alright, so for example, I know that we have been using the paragraph, and now I'm going to introduce the div. Okay, now the paragraph defines the paragraph in an HTML document. Okay, now the div defines a division or a section in an HTML document. So I'm just going to be showing you how we have that. So firstly, let's just comment. So we have the block line, the block, and inline element. Now the commonly used block element that we actually use is the div, the paragraph, section, header, and the rest. So I'm just going to have just paragraph, and this is a block element. So I'm just going to have that for paragraph, and let's create a div element. So this is another block element. All right, so I'm just gonna have this here. So let's go back and let's actually check that here. Okay, now this is one block element and this is another block element. Now the bottom line about this is that the block element actually takes up the entire width of that particular line. It takes up the entire width. It stretches from the left side to the right side. It takes up the entire width right here, and you see that the block element has some kind of a margin around the element, okay, differentiating one block from another block. So that's what this block line element is all about. Now before we move on, I would like to discuss much more about the div, the div element. Now the div element is used as a container for other HTML elements, because for example, when you are building a web page, okay, so you will see that you have for example, you want to build a menu bar, and right below the menu bar you have maybe a carousel, a slider on that. So you have to actually put that menu bar on some kind of a container. All right, you have to put it on a container. All right, that container now is going to have other elements that's going to make the menu bar a success inside that container. All right, even the carousel, starting up the carousel, you're going to have some kind of a div that is going to be like a container that we harbor the remaining elements that you're going to be having inside, that will harbor it inside that particular container. So it's just very easy. So I'm just going to be showing you what I mean by that. All right, and lastly, the div element has no required attributes, but we have the styles, we have the class, we have the ID that are commonly used on this particular div element. All right, now for example, I'm just going to do something cool on that. So we're going to have a div right here. Now I'm going to have some elements right there. So I'm just going to have h2. So I'm going to have my first, sorry for the noise, crazy people just doing crazy things on there. So we have my first website, that's h2, I have paragraph here, so I'm just going to use lorem dummy words 15. Okay, so we're just going to have that. So I'm just going to start this. Now you can introduce CSS. I'm going to use a CSS styling here, so I'm just going to have background color for black. Alright, so I'm going to have color, that's the text color, for white, and lastly I'm going to have a padding for 20 pixel. Alright, so let's go and check that out. Okay, alright, now you see that this right here is one particular block right here. Okay, now we have this as one block, and if you look at this closely on our text editor, you see that this div now is like a container that is holding up this other element inside of it. So this is what I was actually explaining to you. All right, so you have this div as a container that is going to have other elements that will suit what you are trying to achieve inside of that container. So it's very, very easy to actually achieve, and just many steps we're going to be doing with building of web pages. You're going to have to go through this process, starting up a container and then putting every other element of every other element you're going to be needing for that particular stuff that you want to do inside of that particular container. So you can have a div, you can have an header, you can have a section. These elements are all block elements, and we can use them as containers for different stuff that we're doing in building web pages and applications and stuff like that. So that's it about that. Now let's move on to the inline element. Now inline element does not start on a new line. An inline element only takes up as much width as necessary. All right, so it doesn't start on a new line, it just takes as much width as necessary. So the very commonly used inline element that we actually use is the span. All right, we use a span element. All right, so commonly used. So I'm just going to have this span here. So we have the span. Okay, so we have this is an inline element. So I have one. Just copy, paste this, then change this to just want to show you that this doesn't start on a new line. All right, it doesn't start a new line like the block element. So this just have all these element that I have here is gonna go on a straight line. They're not going to start on one new line of stuff. No, you're not going to have it on the new line having margin around it just like the block element. You're not going to have that. So let's go and check that out. Okay, now we'll see this. We'll see what is happening here. So we have this an inline element one. So you see that it's just taking as much width required. All right, it's just taking the required width for that particular text. Okay, it's not taking the entire line here. No, it's not going to do that. That's what we call it, an inline element. So we have this inline for 2, this an inline for 3. Now very, very importantly, the span element is an inline container. Okay, so we use it to mark up a part of a text or a part of a document. All right, so another thing you need to know is that we can use the attribute for style, class, and ID inside of the span. Now I'm just going to do something really quick. Now I'm going to pull down this span right here. So I'm just going to open a span element here. Okay, so let's just do that quickly. Cut this out and paste it right here. Alright, now I'm gonna have this style. Let's style this. Just put a color and just give it red, and just give it a font size. Let's give it 30 pixel, and lastly I'm just give it a font hyphen weight. Give it bolder. Alright, so you see that is that. So let's go back. So you see the difference now. So in case you want to style a particular text or a document, all right, inside of, you can be inside of a blog, or you can be anywhere that you want to style it. So you can use a span to actually style that particular area of of the element that you want to actually do. You can use it to do that. So this is how the span actually works. This is how the inline element actually works. So we have quite some of these inline elements. We have the anchor, we have the image, all those elements are all inline elements, and we use them on different accounts when building web pages and stuff like that. So that's that about that. So if you have any question, don't hesitate to hello me, so I can explain further on this particular stuffs. Now let's move on to the last thing that we have to do on this. Now we're going to work on forms. Okay, forms, very important topic in HTML. Forms. Now what really is this form? The HTML form is used to collect user input. That's all. Alright, so if you have actually registered on a particular website online, so if you actually registered on Facebook, you have a Facebook account, you have a Twitter account, and those stuffs, you have actually made use of HTML forms. Okay, so you have the username, you have your password, you have your email. Those things that you are seeing, you are imputing your data, they are all called HTML forms. All right, so the user input in most cases often send the data to the server for processing. All right, in most cases, in every case. All right, that's the truth. In every case, the user input, that's the input that you're having, just your name, just those data you're putting inside that particular input, they are going to be sent to the server for processing. Now let's move on and do something on form. So we have the form element. So let's just go here and just have here HTML form. Okay, now we have the form element I'm going to be introducing right here. Okay, so we have form element here. So inside this form element now, that's where our different input elements are going to be passed in. Now this form element, we have an attribute action here. All right, now this attribute action now is responsible for sending the data that is coming from the input, sending it to the server. Okay, so it sends those information to the server for processing. That's what this action attribute is here for. So firstly, I'm going to have inputs for text. Okay, so input for text. Inside this particular input, we're going to have only text going in there, or just a display of a single line text input field. All right, so just having text going into this particular input. Now before we move on, I'm going to introduce what we call the label. Now the label is very important because we need a caption on the interface. All right, so this label is what really help us to actually put a caption on the interface. Now let's have this here. So we have label for first name. All right, so we just have first name here. Okay, now the label is what is actually helping us to caption, to put a caption on this input. So let's go back to our text editor and let's check that out. Now look at this. Okay, I need to actually put a space right there. Okay, so I'm just gonna have, oh sorry, just put a break tag here. All right, so that's good. So let's go back there. Okay, so we have first name, which is the label. Okay, the caption, first name, the label is responsible for that. Now this is the input for text, so we can just put in any text, any number, any stuff. Just feel free, put stuff in there, and we are good to go. Now let's move on to the next thing that we have to do. So the next thing, I'm just going to have email. Okay, I'm just going to copy and paste, so don't get to write everything there. So I'm just going to have email. Alright, so I'm just going to change this to email. Okay, I'm going to have my email input. Now the type here, we have an email type here. Okay, so we can actually also do that. So another thing that we need to add here to this input is what we call the name. Now the name here is what help the transfer of data to the server. Alright, so without a name here, you can't actually transfer data coming in inside this input. You can't actually transfer those data to the server. So the name helps in collecting and helping in transferring the data to the server also. So we're just gonna have a first name here. I'll just put a name. And one last thing we omitted here is placeholder. Now the placeholder is just a fancy looking word that we have on the input. Alright, so we just have enter your first name. Now let's go to the browser and check what this looks like. Now we see what we have here, enter your first name. Now this is the placeholder. That's a fancy looking word that we have on the input. Now we're going to have that for this email. So I'm going to have enter your email. Alright, so same thing goes there. Alright, and that's going to have label for, just copy this. Right, just copy and paste that here. So I'm going to have for password, so just pwd. Alright, so I don't get to write the entire stuff, so I have password right here. Okay, now I have an input type for password. Alright, so very important that you know that. So I'm just going to change the placeholder here to password also. So we have enter your password right here. So let's go back to our browser and check what that gives us. Alright, so we have enter your password right here. So that's just what this is all about. So it's not looking really cool, so let me just put some kind of a break line. But if you look at this password now, if you input anything here, it's actually not visible. Okay, the stuff that I'm putting in there is not actually visible because we are using, and that's the type is a password, so it doesn't make that particular input visible to anyone. Okay, now that's it about that. Let me just put a breakline tag here. Let me put a breakline tag here. Okay, so let's go check that out. Okay, so we have the first name, we have email, and we have password stacked on each other. Okay, so that's fine. Oh, sorry. Alright, now the next thing we're going to have here is the radio button. Now radio button is a very interesting stuff input that we have right here on this form. Now the radio button defines it lets a user select one of a limited number of choices. Okay, so for example, you see the option whereby you have to choose either male or female. Alright, gender, you have to choose whether you're male, you're female, or you don't exist. Alright, so it's actually that's actually what this is all about, the radio button. So I'm just going to be having something on that here. Okay, so we're just going to check, we're just going to do choose our favorite web language. Alright, on that, so we're just going to have here. Okay, so we have label fav language. So just have your favorite. What's going on? Favorite web language. Alright, so that's that for that. So let's move on to inputs, and we're gonna have radio here. Okay, now the next thing we're gonna have here is an ID. Okay, so ID for HTML. Okay, so we're gonna have also name. All right, so we have favorite language. Okay, and another stuff we're gonna have here is value. Okay, so we're gonna have HTML. Okay, so that's all on that. So don't forget to add your label to that. Okay, so we have label, and then this is for HTML. Okay, so here I have HTML. Okay, so I'm just going to copy what I have here for the CSS and JavaScript. Alright, so don't waste a lot of time there. So I'm just going to change the remaining stuffs here. So I have CSS. I have CSS here also. Okay, so I have CSS. Alright, so here we'll change this also to CSS. Okay, so here also we have JavaScript. Alright, I'm just gonna have this JavaScript. Okay, and lastly I'm gonna have this an uppercase JavaScript. Alright, so I think that's that. Okay, are we missing any other stuff? Okay, we're not. Okay, just for this. Alright, so we have JavaScript right here. Alright, now let's go to the browser and check this out. Alright, now you see that we have your favorite web language. So we have HTML. If I click this, you see that this option is to have to leave it for here. So if I click here, you see that it goes here and select this. Alright, so let me make this look much more presentable. Alright, so we have here, just put a break line tag here. Okay, so let's see that. Okay, so we have that here. Okay, so obviously I'm gonna bring this down. Okay, so just go down here and put another break line. Okay, I don't need that to be. Okay, just put a 2 break line there, so we have enough space. Okay, so we have that there. All right, so very easy. Okay, and now let's move on to our checkbox. Okay, now let's move on to checkbox. All right, now checkbox is just kind of an opposite to what we have on the radio button. Now checkbox, it allows a user to select 0 or more options of a limited number of choices. Okay, so allowing the user to select either none or select all. All right, all the choices. You know, the radio button just allows the user to select one of so many choices, but the checkbox will enable the user to select none or select all of the choices we have there. Alright, so let's just do something on that. Okay, so firstly I'm just going to do that for label. We're going to have hobbies. For hobbies, okay, so I have hobbies right here. So I'm just going to list out some of the crazy hobbies that I have to do every day. Alright, so here I'm going to have your inputs. Okay, input for checkbox. Alright, so name, I'm gonna have your swim. You know, I love to swim, but obviously truth is that I don't know how to swim. That's where someone's gonna teach me one of these days, how to swim. Okay, so I have name, I have the ID, and I'm gonna have the label right here. Okay, so we have this for, let's put swim. Okay, so just put swimming right here. Alright, so I'm just going to copy what I have here and paste it down. Oh, what's going on? I think I missed that. Okay, copy again. Alright, paste it, paste that. Alright, the second hobby I have here, I love coding and I love teaching. Alright, but we'll just have coding there. Alright, so we have coding. Okay, so yeah, we're gonna change this from swimming to coding. Oh, yep. I don't know if you love that, but next one we have reading. One of the things I love to do again is reading. I love reading so much. I advise that you also, love to read, right? Have that as one of your hobbies. Reading books is really, really good stuff. Okay, now we have change this. Okay, let's just have code. Okay, so I have reading here. I'm going to change this to read. Okay, so I have swimming, coding, reading, and singing. Alright, so I'm just going singing here. One of my hobbies. I don't have a good voice, but I just enjoy singing, praising God every day. One of my stuffs that I love doing, So I have sing, and then yeah, I'm gonna leave this at singing. Okay, so let's go check that out now. Okay, so we have hobbies right here. You can check this, we can check this, we can check this, and we can check this. Alright, we can choose not to check this, so we uncheck it, we uncheck, and we uncheck. That's it about the checkbox. So very, very simple. See how it's actually similar to opposite of opposite of the radio button. So lastly, before we move to the next step, so we're gonna have text area. Okay, so we're gonna have comments here. Alright, so that big box that we have, where we have those comments, comment stuff that you need to do. So you see, yep, we have this. I forgot to have my label, so let's just have a label right here. Okay, for that. Okay, so let's have that as comment. Okay, so I'm gonna have a placeholder here, so enter your comment here. Alright, so let's go check that. Okay, so enter your comment here. So I'm just gonna take that. Let's use a break tag here. Alright, so we have this, put break tag. It's gonna have two there. Alright, so I'm still gonna have a break tag here. Okay, so let's go check that. Alright, so we have enter your comment here. So we can actually even make this much bigger. So the column you can put 50. Alright, so it makes it much bigger. So that's how this is actually done. Alright, then lastly we have to put a submit button here. So we have input for submit. Alright, so we have name for submit, and we have value for submit. Okay, so that's as simple as that. Okay, let's put a break here. Alright, so we have our submit button here. So whenever we input those data coming in here, alright, so we just click on the submit and it transfer our data to the server for processing. Alright, so one last thing, all these categories, all this stuff coming here, we can actually switch them off. Okay, so let me show you how to do that. I'm just going to do that for only that. So we're just going to have an attribute called auto complete. Okay, so put that to off. Alright, so once we do that, it's not going to give you any damn suggestion anymore. So click that, see no suggestion is coming out again right there. So we off it, no of those suggestion actually comes up again. So that's it about this HTML form. Alright, so I'm sure you enjoyed what I gave to you. Alright, I give you value. Alright, so if you have any more question on this HTML, feel free to get through to me, maybe my email, my number. I have everything right there. Just feel free to reach out to me. I'm just going to reply all of your demands in no time. Alright, so that will be all for this HTML class. Alright, so this is the part 2. that will be all for this. So sit tight and wait for my next video, which you are going to benefit from a lot. All right, don't forget to subscribe to my channel, very very important. You're gonna have liberty to always watch my coding videos, and you're gonna enjoy every one of them. Just sit tight and have that on your have that in the back of your mind. Just subscribe, and thank you for your time, thank you for everything. I'm short of words. All right, bye for now.